Let's talk about the thing that has been just dominating the news cycles since we elected Donald J. Trump as president. The Russians. Okay? The Russians, Comey, Lynch, Rice, all that's been in the news this week. And, here we are 7 months into his almost 7 months into his presidency. And they've talked about this Russian collusion and how the Russians interfered with our elections and all the things that implies that the president and his people were involved in it. After 7 months, nobody's presented any evidence. They've had people that had conversations with Russians. Heck, I may have had a conversation with a Russian today. They had a funny accent. I don't know. But after 7 months, they have no evidence. If they had the evidence, they would have slammed it shut on him right away. They would have done that. Here's the other thing, and I didn't think about it until I heard it this week on the news. And President Trump brought it up anyway. Supposedly, they knew about this going back to last July. They were on the trail of it in last July. President Obama brought it up in October. Okay? He brought it up that they were, trying to interfere with our elections. And then after the election, that was all you've heard since. The Russians, the Russians, the Russians, the Russians, the Russians. Okay? So, think about this for a minute. Who was on watch during all this? President Obama and his staff. Who took an oath of office to protect this country, both foreign and domestic? President Obama and his staff. I'm talking about Obama, Jay Johnson, Loretta Lynch, James Comey, Brennan, Clapper. All these folks are supposed to protect this country. And they didn't do it. They knew it was coming. And they didn't do it. So what does this say about them? What does this say about theirs? But I tell you what it says to me. I think they knew it. I think they knew it was going to have no impact on it. But it was just kind of a little safety net that they could have there in the event that they lost, because there was no way they were going to lose. There was no way Hillary was going to lose. But just if they did, they could paint Trump with this brush that he's a Russian collaborator, and now they could delegitimize his presidency. And that's what they're doing. They're basically saying your votes didn't count because the Russians changed the votes. And my question back at them is, if you knew this was coming, if you knew so much about it, why didn't you stop it? You did nothing. You sat there and you did nothing. And what it did do is it started this whole conversation that we've had about Comey and the Russian investigation of Flynn and the Russian collusion and obstruction and all this. And what it did was it set Comey down, and in his arrogance, he talked about how he knew that this was going to cause an independent counsel to be named, and that independent counsel would investigate. What he didn't think would happen is, I don't think he did, he implicated Lynch when he talked about her issue last year with President Clinton and her on the tarmac in Arizona for 30 minutes. They were talking about grandchildren, of course. Susan Rice, who took and unmasked the names of the people that were being surveilled by the Obama administration, and Brennan and Clapper and all these folks involved in this, it's going to open up all of them to be prosecuted. Now, will they do it? Who knows? There's an investigation underway. But here's what I got to say to James Comey. If you think for a minute that Clinton, okay, so you're hearing the names here, Clinton, Obama, and then their staff of Brennan, Clapper, Rice, if you think for a minute that they're going to go down and they're not going to take you with them, you got another thing coming. You may have signed your own warrant, Mr. Comey, because I got a feeling they're going to dirty you up in all this because you attacked them. Okay? But the problem is you as the American people, you and I are paying the price for this. We've got a government that has been held captive because all we can talk about is Russian collusion. My next topic for today is health care. Let me just say it for the record. Obamacare has to go. It's unsustainable. We can't maintain this level of coverage and continue to allow that to just suck the life out of this country. As most of you may know, there were 5 senators this week that did not agree with the passage of this bill. They said they're not going to vote for it. Senators Paul, Senators Cruz, Lee, Heller, and Johnson. All 5 of those have said they can't vote for it if it's maintained at the same way it is now, if there's not changes to this bill. I applaud those guys for standing up and doing what's right for this country and for its taxpayers. Obamacare is unsustainable. It will break us. Okay? And the people on the left that are screaming about 23 million people, not having coverage if we pull Obamacare, I got news for them. If we continue down this road and we don't replace Obamacare, the same thing's going to happen. The difference being, instead of us pulling it and trying to correct it and put something better in place that is sustainable, it's not robbing from other funds, all the carriers are going to pull out of it, and then you're not going to have any coverage. So then it's going to impact more than 23 million. In my opinion, though, the problem is, and the fault in their plan is that they are trying to replace this. And they're trying to do it haphazardly without a full, clean slate. Okay? If you let Obamacare collapse, then you're going to have to replace it with something. But the Democrats are happy that the Republicans are floundering around trying to replace it because they can hang it squarely around their neck. But if you let Obamacare fall and you don't throw money at it and try to save it, when it does collapse, then you can step right in and replace it with something better. So take this time and develop a plan. You know, it just angers me that they waited 8 years. They complained about it for 7.5 years about Obamacare, and then when it came time to pull the trigger, they had nothing. That is just unbelievable to me. I would think in 8 years you could have made a marvelous plan. So I just don't understand it. But I think passing a Obamacare light, which is what many allude to as this new bill, I think it's the wrong move. And Senator Cruz, Paul, Lee, Heller, and Johnson, thank you, sirs. Thank you for being patriots. The last thing I want to close with, folks, is just to give you guys a heads up. I don't know if others have read this, but I've read this. I can't stand behind it 100%, but I've heard it in several different places. That supposedly on July 2nd, there's going to be a day of rage. Antifa's putting this out there. They're saying be violent against conservatives and get in the fascists' face. So I just urge all you folks out there that are hearing me on this video, will protect yourselves, be aware. I highly encourage you to be aware of your surroundings and where you go and the areas you're in. Me personally, here's what I plan to do on July 2nd. I'm going to find the t-shirt that's got the most conservative statement on it. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to strap my big hog leg Glock 20 to my hip and put a collapsible baton in my pocket. We'll see how things work out. These folks, you know, they just get me with this. They think that violence is going to solve this. I will be the first one to say that I disavow any violence for political reasons. But if you bring it to me, I'm going to give it back to you tenfold. So I'm not out here wanting to crack the heads of any liberals or Democrats or anything like that. But if any of them step to me, you can pretty much bet I'm not going to fold up like a flower. So hope you guys have a great week. God bless, and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks.